Assalamualaikum and good morning to my teacher and my fellow friend. Today we going to present about flood in Malaysia. Before we start, I will introduce my teammates. Our first teammate is Ahmad Danish bin Muhammad Nasir and his metric number is 03DEN 21F1053. The second is Fakrul Rakib bin Zulkifli and his cat metric number is 03DEN 21F1060. And thirdly is Amirul Hakim bin Raziamanuddin and his metric number is 03DEN 21F1015. Lastly is me is Muhammad Irfan bin Muhammad Razif and metric number is 03DEN 21F1008. Firstly, I will talk about the introduction about this topic is flood in Malaysia. Flood is natural disaster that occur due to climatological factor or climate factors such as like temperature, rainfall, evaporation, wind movement and condition nature surface on the earth, and flash flood traditionally occur, especially in the east coast of the peninsula during the monsoon season. Before we start, I will talk about flood analyzed in 7 states in Malaysia at 2021. There is a graph about analyzed flood victim in 7 states in Malaysia at 2021. The firstly in Kelantan, we have victim such as like 569 victim in Kelantan. The next is in Perak. We have 1,230 victim in Perak. That two state we have low victim because they have much prepare to adapt the flood. But because before this, that country have many flood. Okay. The next is in Johor. We have 7,112. That is very high victim that happen at this state. And the next is in Pahang. We have 7,603. Same as like Johor. Have a high flood victim because they don't have much prepare they don't have much prepare to adapt the flood. The next in Terengganu, we have 804. That's same like in Perak, don't have much flood victim because they have much prepare. And the lastly in Selangor, it have 116 because in Selangor is we have better piping system to adapt the flood, and it can reduce the flood in Selangor because we must have better preparation before we have a flood. The next is a chronology of the occurrence of flood in 2021. Before we start, I will show the flow before flood happened in Malaysia at 2021. The first part is at 14 December 2021. It started in the water of the South China Sea and moved to the peninsula with the wind speed around 44.7 km per hour. That's we call as a monsoon. Like always it happen in Malaysia. But the speed is 44.7 km per hour. That's very fast. Okay, the next is at 17 December 2021. The wind predominant that moved to the north area of the Klang Valley before abating on December 17. The next in between 17 and 18 December 2021 is continuous heavy rain in the most area of the peninsula then result in extraordinary flood. This can make the water level of flood in Malaysia is high, not like always, because the heavy rain in the most area of the peninsula then result in the extraordinary flood, make the river and the water level of the surrounding is high. Okay, the next part is impact of flood loss in Malaysia in 2021. The graph is show damage to the flood by state. Firstly, the state is Selangor. We have the damage with the flood by state is around 3,100 million ringgit. This is because in Selangor we have many factory and infrastructure that damaged by the flood. The next part is in Pahang. We also have 593.2 million ringgit. The next is in Melaka. We have the damage by the flood is around 45.2 million ringgit. The next in Negeri Sembilan. We also have the damage around 77.4 million ringgit. The next is in Johor. We also have the damage due to the flood around 15.1 billion ringgit. Okay. The next is wilayah Persekutuan Kuala Lumpur. The damage because of the flood is around 32.4 million ringgit. Okay, and the next is in Kelantan. We also have the damage around 22 million ringgit. And the next in Sabah, 9.3 million ringgit. Because in Sabah we don't have much factory and infrastructure and more to the forest and the river. Don't damage much loss because of the flood. The next part is in Perak, around 3.4 million ringgit. The next is Terengganu. We have the damage due to the flood is around 0.4 million ringgit. And then lastly, the state is in Sarawak, which 0.1 million ringgit. Because in Sarawak we don't have many infrastructure and factory. The next part is overall loss in Malaysia in 2021. The overall loss is around 6.1 billion. And the pie chart is show the overall loss in Malaysia in 2021. Okay, the highest loss in Malaysia at 2021 is public asset, because when the flood damaged the state in Malaysia, public asset like infrastructure, like river and somewhere else is crash the public asset and take a cost to repair it. The next is living quarter is around 1.6 billion ringgit. When the flood damaged the living quarters, some of the house is crashed by the flood. And the next part is vehicles. It's around 1 billion ringgit is lost in Malaysia. This is happen. The car lately is more to electrical, not mechanical part, and have take much money to repair it because part is electrical, not mechanical part. The next part is manufacturing is around 0.9 billion ringgit. Is show to the like factories that damaged by the flood and more something like it. The next is business premise. It seems like living quarters. When it damaged, some of the business premise is crashed by the flood. The lastly in agriculture, when it damaged when it damage at agriculture, some of the plant and the fish somewhere like that is going dead and take some money to make it much better, like before the flood happened in Malaysia.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. My name is Fakul Rohit Zulkifli. My number matrix is 03DM21F1060, and I'll be presenting the impact of flood from the environment aspects. Now I'll present the impact of the flood. The impact of the flood that I will present is it comes to environment. What is environment? The environment encompasses the natural world around us, including the air we breathe, the water we drink, the land we inhabit, and the diverse ecosystems that support life on Earth. It plays a crucial role in sustaining all living organisms, and the well-being of both human and the planet itself is intimately connected to the health and balance of our environment. So you could say that this is a crucial term when it comes to society. So what are the impacts of flood when it comes to environment? Well, first of all, it would be wildlife habitats can be destroyed by floodwater. Plants die due to being inundated by water, means so that the plants are being flooded by water. Number 3, rivers can be widened and the position can increase downstream. Number 4, contaminated floodwaters can pollute rivers and habitats. That's a normal occurrence, especially when the rivers is near to a radiation factory or something like that. Okay, now we'll head further into the 3 main floods of Malaysia. I will head into the first one, which is the 2006 and 2007 Southeast floods. This phenomenon was a series of floods that was mostly affected Malaysia. The various states that were heavily affected were Johor, Malacca, Pahang, and Negeri Sembilan. This flood also include other countries like Singapore and certain parts of Indonesia, and they too have been affected. Okay, looking from this pie chart, we can see that there are names of provinces of Johor: Segamat, Muar, Klang, and so forth. The chart tells us about the rainfall distribution, that the provinces of Johor, with Segamat hitting the least, while Mersing is the most. Mersing has about 3,000 millimeters of rain, while Segamat, the least, has only 1,850. Okay, now we'll head into the second major flood of Malaysia, which is the 2014 to 2015 Malaysia flood. 6 states were affected during 2014-2015 Malaysia floods. The states that were mostly affected were Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang, Perak, Sabah, and Perlis. The flood was caused by heavy continuous rain that didn't stop for days, causing water level to rise little by little. Now, looking at this slide, I've concluded that Kelantan is an easy target. When it comes to flood all year round when it hit Malaysia, Kelantan is a daily opener. So as you can see, whenever the topic of flood was brought on, Kelantan seemed to be the state that was first to be hit or had the most losses. So here the bar chart shows flood occurrence in Kelantan from 2003 to 2004. You can see that in 2004-2005, that was when the rain hit, the flood hit. So you can see that it goes up very well. Okay, now we'll head into the 2021 Malaysia flood. The year 2021 in Malaysia was marked by a tragedy, as unrelenting monsoon rains unleashed a merciless flood. It was a devastating deluge that shattered life, engulfed communities, and left a nation in despair. This was the stark reminder of those ferocity of nature and the resilience of those who endured a tale of sorrow and stern etched in Malaysia's history. You can see from the passage that the 2021 Malaysian flood was among the worst floods that Malaysia has ever been in. Now we head into the statistic almost all states of Malaysia receive a major setback in development due to flood, which when I mean development, I mean money. And more than 120,000 residents were affected. Many houses and buildings were completely flooded. Well, of course, it's a flood, and house will be flooded if the flood is high. And from this graph, we can see how the damage has hit the economic side of the challenge, counting multiple floods throughout the years. So you can see from the chart that the X line shows the states of Malaysia, and the Y line shows the number of flood events that occurred in those states. So the pink represents the number of flood, which means how many flood there were, and the blue counts average annual damage, or AAD, and it counts by millions. So if you see that it goes to 80, which means that it's 87 million. And the brown colored box would be the flood prone area of state. So whichever part of the state is affected by the flood. As you can see from the graph, it goes all year round. It's just the same, but when it comes to Sabah, Sarawak and Selangor, there are the major high ones. And the least would be Melaka, Negeri Sembilan and Perlis, since they are small. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Ahmad Dinish bin Muhammad Nasir. My maintenance number is 0TDN21F1053. Okay, today I want to talk about impact of flood in properties. In terms of property, floods can cause many people in Malaysia to lose their homes, vehicles, or anything that is meaningful to them. It can also cause loss to the country in terms of economy. From the seventh slide, we can see that our country has suffered too much loss due to the flood problems faced in 2021. We can see the impact on the properties. Okay. Firstly, impact on the properties is structural damage. Second, loss of personal belongings. Third, high repair costs. And lastly, decreased property value. On the next slide, this is the bar chart for community property damage in 2021. This bar chart was taken by the Nadma Portal, which is an agency that collects data for natural disaster in Malaysia. Okay, firstly, the graph for the residential area or living quarters shows that Sarawak has the highest total percentage, which is 100% compared to other states, followed by three states, namely Sabah, Melaka, and Perak, which is 80%. And the graph for the state of Selangor is one of the lowest, which is less than 40%. Okay. For vehicle damage, Johor recorded the highest record of 35% compared to other states, followed by Selangor and Negeri Sembilan, which is 25%. Sarawak has recorded 0% vehicle damage for flood in 2021. This may be due to the lack of used vehicles in the states. Next, for the graph of business premise, Terengganu recorded the highest record of 30%, while for the lowest state receiving damage for the business premise is Sarawak with 0%. And lastly, for manufacturing, we all know that Selangor has many manufacturing factories, causing the state to record the highest record of 25%, while for other states there is less damage to the manufacturing sector. Next slide, flood in Malaysia from 2017 to 2021. Based on Astro Awani on 25 December 2022, reported that the total loss of destruction of property and public facilities due to floods in this country from 2017 to 2021 reached 77.4 billion ringgit. Based on the diagram below, here is a line graph showing that loss for the year 2017 to 2021. In 2017, the total damage was 0.063 billion ringgit, while in the 2018 the graph decreased to 0.0442 billion, and in 2019 also recorded a decrease of 0.0265 billion ringgit. Lastly, in 2020 and 2021, the amount of losses increased drastically, amounting to 1.15 billion ringgit and 6.1 million ringgit. This may be due to the COVID-19 factors that happened in our country that year. The next slide, we can see a flood study in Kelantan from 1981 to 2005. We all know that Kelantan is the state that always has flood disaster every year. Based on the journal from an implication of flood hazard on the socio-economics of residents in Lembangan, Kelantan, personal property damage, the destruction of its infrastructure also contributes to the increase in the total value of road damage, bridge, school, electricity poles, and so on that were also affected by the flood. Okay, on the next slide shows that the graph about estimate property damage according to Colonel in Kelantan states in 1981 to 2005. On the next slide, we can see the bar chart that happened in Kelantan. Okay. Kolakara is the district with the highest amount of damage, which is 20 million ringgit, followed by Tumpak district, which is 50 million ringgit total loss. And for Kota Baru and Pasir Mas have the same amount of loss, while for the district that recorded the lowest amount of loss is the Gua Musang district, which is 5 million ringgit. Okay, that's all for me now. Thank you for listening.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Shamil Hakim Belfi Amiruddin. My matrix number is 03DEM21F1015. I will present you about healthy impact in flooding. First, I will present you about healthy. The healthy impact of flood are wide range and depend on number of factors. However, the healthy impact of particular flood are specific to the particular context. The immediate healthy impacts of flood including drowning, injuries, hypothermia, and animal deaths. Health risks also associated with evacuation of patients, loss of healthy workers, and loss of healthy infrastructures, including accessing drug and supply. In the medium term, infected worm, complication of injuries, poisoning, poor mental health, communicable diseases, and starvation are indirect effect of flooding. In a long term, chronic diseases, disabilities, poor mental health, and poverty-related diseases, including malnutrition, are the potential legacy. Second, I will present you about type of diseases when flooding. First, acute respiratory tract infection for RE. Second, acute gastroenteritis for H. Third, skin infection. Fourth, hand, foot, and mouth diseases, HFMD. As you can see, this bar chart shows that the number of patients infected with acute respiratory tract infection in 2014 was 8276, while the number of patients infected with acute respiratory tract infection in 2017 showed a decrease in that year, namely 1439 For acute gastroenteritis, there were 1062 patients infected with the decreases in 2014, while the number decreased in 2017 to only 162 patients, which the decrease. Next, as many as 379 patients suffering for leptospirosis in 2014, the number can be reduced to 3 patients suffering for leptospirosis in 2017. Next, from the bar chart in 2021, we can see that the number of patients suffering from acute respiratory tract infection decreases in that year, which is only 103 patients compared to 2017, which had 1439 patients who were infected. The next patient who experienced skin infection in 2021 was 52 patients. A total of 22 patients suffered of acute gastroenteritis in 2021. We can see the trend of decreasing the number of patients for acute gastroenteritis for the year 2021 compared to 2017. Among other decreases experienced by floats victims in 2021 is conjunctivitis. There were 8 patients with conjunctivitis in 2021. As you can see, acute respiratory tract infection recorded an increase in 2022 from 1488 patients compared to only 103 patients in 2021. This increase show a significant upward trend in 2022. Acute gastroenteritis recorded an increase of 285 and skin infection 607 patients, while the case of hand, foot and mouth diseases and conjunctivitis remain 60 and 160 cases respectively. For the last conclusion, in the conclusion, flood in Malaysia remain a recurrent and challenging natural disaster impacting communities, infrastructures and the economy. Effective mitigation and preparedness measures are crucial to minimize the devastating effect of this flood in the future. Thank you.